Hi everyone. Today, Deanna and I are here for another talk. Where before we started taping, we said, "Oh, what are we going to talk about today?"
We have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
It's like, what do we want to talk about?
Which one do we want to talk about? So we're going to talk about creating our own realities and
How do we do that?
How do we do that?
Like, if you don't like the reality that you're living in, then to change your personal reality, you change your personality. And how do you change your personality? Like, what does that look like? What does that mean?
Right.
To change your personality.
I had a couple of clients come in this week, and they sit down and, how are you doing? Well, I don't know, the state of affairs of this world, it's like all this doom and gloom, and
it's
so
because
they're watching the news
a lot.
Yeah. And I said the best thing, that's the first thing I tell women when they come in and they talk about that, because women, I think, in people in general, especially empathic people, whatever you see out there, or on your TV, you're going to have some feelings about it. So we get to choose what we want to look at, and for me,
and how we want to feel,
right? Yes.
Yeah. So
and for me, I'm a very empathic person,
and as am I.
And so
she's more.
Yeah, I am a little bit more extreme, I would say.
Yeah.
So
highly sensitive to sound and everything.
Yes. So a couple of decades ago, I realized that if I don't watch TV, I feel so much better.
Wow.
And so, especially the news, it's been at least 2 decades, especially the news, because there's nothing good on the news.
Well, do you remember, it just popped into my mind, our friend David, who lives in New Mexico, he started a newspaper called The Good News.
Good News
newspaper, because it's all really about lifting your spirits. And you are in control. You have a choice of how you want to feel. So if you're watching something that doesn't feel very good, and you continue watching it, then you're not going to feel good. But if you watch something that's uplifting and inspiring and empowering, it makes you feel good. So paying attention to how you feel and really getting into your body.
Right, and so many people will say, but I want to know what's going on. I want to know, I need to be informed. And so we get to choose what information we want to take into our bodies. So reading a few headlines is
like
much better.
Dipping your toes.
Just dipping your toes. It's much better than sitting there and watching the sensationalism that's on the news.
It's intentional.
So the programming. So it is programming. And now that we're in an election year, it's especially, what's the word? Bipartisan. Yeah, that there are certain stations that favor one candidate, and the other stations favor the other candidate. And so
it's funny because I said it's like watching children in a sandbox.
Yeah,
because they're passionate about their own opinions, and that's that energy is gonna come through when they're giving you the news.
Yeah.
So there's no way that they can remain neutral and just give the news, but they used to do that. They used to be able to do that and just tell you the news, what it's like, and you don't know what to believe anymore.
Well, and people somehow they gravitate toward that. They, it's like there's some kind of a draw there, and they're more so than good news, I would say. If you sit there and you're just watching all good news stories, maybe that would be a little boring. I don't know. But it's just the way that we've been programmed. And if you think about TV programs, it's a program.
Yeah, it's programming.
So it's programming our minds. And I remember when my children were young, and I would really limit their TV. And I said, TV turns your brain into mush, because you don't have to really think when you're watching TV. And I kind of I trained them to know that neither of my children watch TV. And
No.
they're in their 20s, and they haven't since they were kids watched TV. And so it is, so they create their own reality.
Yeah, they're choosing what to watch on their phone.
Yes.
And it's usually stories that they're learning from.
Right.
Or podcasts that they're learning from.
Yeah.
And then they're also being very creative.
Yes.
On their phones, making videos.
Right, and they're using it for those purposes. Anyway, so it is possible to change your own reality, change your own attitude by what you're putting into your mind.
And also paying attention to how you're thinking.
Right.
So you have a choice to think from your heart, from love, or from your head, from ego. And so I feel like our egos are always judging, whether it's good or bad, rather than how does it feel? How does it feel in our hearts? And that's not a judgment, that's a discernment. And so we have a choice of how we want to feel, because we can do something. The other day that, I went to our mom's and I brought her all this food for the day, and she just she's been in a great mood since.
Yes.
And she felt, it really uplifted her. And she's 85 years old, and so this is what we do, and this is what we do through Tim.
Right.
Is we show you how you can take control by every day presenting yourself.
And we have that choice. And I was going to tell the story about my mother's been having some health issues, and so I've been going to her doctor appointments with her, and she has such a great attitude. And so we had seen this one nurse practitioner probably 3 or 4 times over a period of a month or so. And she said, we walked into the room and she said, "You ladies always are dressed so well." And I said, "Thank you." I said, "It's a choice that we have, and so that's all I said. I said it's a personal choice, So it's obvious when you're out there in public, to see. Our eyes are drawn to people who are well dressed.
Yes.
And
pay
present
attention to
themselves.
them. Yes.
Present themselves, and it says so many things. It can say so many different things about a person.
Yeah.
But it's our eyes are drawn to that.
Yeah. Our eyes are drawn to beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we see something beautiful, we full of beauty, then we notice it, and that's how we want to feel. And so we can do something every day to make ourselves feel good, to lift ourselves.
Right.
And so I know that there's so many times when I put something on, and it doesn't feel good. And when I look in the mirror, it still doesn't feel good. So I change my clothes, and I change it until I feel good. And this is like when I'm home and it's just me and my husband. And if I put something on, it doesn't feel good, I change it.
Right. Isn't it so funny because you're saying, I change it. So if we're not feeling good, if in the morning you're watching the news, and then you walk out your door and the first person you see may be your hairstylist, your coworker, your, the gas station, attendant, and you're like, oh, the world is in such, horrible states, and that is,
it's an energy.
It is an energy, yeah. But I was going to say too that it's always going to be like that, because you can't have light without dark. You can't have good without bad, and everyone is living in their own realities. So we have no idea. The only idea we have of what is happening anywhere else is the news interpretation of what is happening, and they're going to show us what they want us to see, and it is going to be sensationalized. So it is amplifying things. So the only way to change that is to change our own habits
and to stop. Change it, stop it.
So first thing in the morning, last thing of the day, that's not a good time to look at the news.
No.
So if you want to catch little bits and pieces at other times during the day, just read a headline and then you're going to be informed.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't, like I said, you don't.
And it
have to-
doesn't, take over your whole being, and then you pass it on to everybody, because
Right.
that is not uplifting. When you're passing that energy, that negative energy, onto somebody else, that they'll feel the drain.
Right.
When as a matter of fact, when we have clients that come in, we give them an opportunity to vent, and then we tell them, change it. You can change it. And we start talking about something uplifting and something inspiring. And women who come in here feeling like, they're down in the dumps, nothing's going right, when they leave here, there's a bounce in their step, and they're feeling great. And they did it to themselves. They did it.
Right.
So that's how you can start your morning off every day, by just taking this time for you to do things that make you feel good, And it's I went for a walk, and I live near Webster Park, and I walked down by the lake, and then I decided to do my exercising down there as well. And there I am, with Lake Ontario, beautiful Lake Ontario right in front of me, and I'm doing my exercises, and it felt so good.
And that was the first time you did that, because you haven't, you walk down there, but
but I've never done my exercises down there. So.
And how long have you lived there?
7 years.
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we get to choose every day.
And it was just a thought that came to me. I acted on it. It was a hunch. So starting your morning out every day, and Tim helps you to start your morning out by uplifting yourself, by when you look in the mirror, you feel good about the way you look. And then that's a vibration. And then as you walk out of the house, you're feeling great. And so you're going to talk about things that make you feel great.
Right.
And so that's what our message is do things that make you feel great every day.
Yes, every day, and as often as you can during the day.
And before you go to bed, just replay your day and really acknowledge what made you feel good. Pat yourself on the back, feel the gratitude in your heart. That's an energy, and then that just builds and builds and builds like a snowball, and it just keeps getting bigger.
It does. And then when you wake up in the morning, you feel better too.
Yeah.
After having gone to sleep like that as well.
Yeah. So we hope that, you heard something that really ignited the passion, ignited the love in you, and the love for yourself, no matter what's going on outside the world. When you have self-love, you have everything.
Yes, and thank you for being with us today. We appreciate your presence. We can feel your presence, and
we would love it if you commented,
yes,
if you shared this, and if you felt that it was uplifting to share it with somebody else.
And give us a thumbs up if you loved it too.
Yes. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful